and I'm a trained remote viewer. I'm also just remembering I'm also a whistleblower, except that when I first came out as that was in 1992 when my people, my controllers in Washington, had me institute a lawsuit for sexual abuse uh, from some of their agents in Miami. And the lawsuit did not get very far. It did get me beat up. I didn't get any protection from that. And then it was dropped because of statutes of limitations. But I think they knew in Washington it was never going to go anyplace. But while that could be viewed as something really positive, the actual fact is that after that, I was viewed as an enemy of anybody connected to any kind of intelligence in this area. And you guys all know that the intelligence community in Miami has basically had their way with everything. Why am I saying this now? Because it turns out that it appears that last week or this weekend I was poisoned. And even though you think, well, how come you're sitting here talking to us? Actually, because I presented it to my group last night and I got an awful lot of recommendations. And one of the main ones is your immune system needs to be good. And I'm taking a lot of the things they were recommending, but the issue is that it's slow acting. So you don't know. I mean, it could happen 3 months, 6 months. I don't know. I need to find out more. Why would that be happening between the end of last week and this weekend? Well, if you look at the news, it's no surprise. The whole whistleblower, we got to take the bad guys down. We're not going to be quiet any longer. The fall of hierarchy having to do with secrets and protecting the higher ups. It's all totally, I'm going to say out of control, but it's out of control of the not good guys. But it makes it very complicated for those of us that have lifted our heads. Not that I wanted to do that in 1992. No, I didn't. So it's complicated. So today's been a really interesting day with the stuff that's coming out. And I follow X for news because it's the only way I feel I can count on getting a wide range of information. And basically, most of it, I would think or feels like it's very honest. And on the same side of the road that I'm at, the same track that I'm at, which is we are all going to be so much happier when we live the truth. What is all this secrecy about? What is it all about? But I guess we don't really need to know now, even though I always want to know the answer to all those types of questions. We are in the age of revelations. Everything's going to come out anyway. So for those bad guys that are still thinking that they might be able to get away with it if they threaten enough people enough, it's not a question of getting away with it. This is a planetary cycle. It's called revelations. It's in the Bible. 2,000 years ago, and I'm not biblical or Catholic, but it's in the Bible and it's happening. So, how about the bad guys? Because I'm followed, I understand, by a lot of authorities. How about the bad guys just kind of figure out how they can just kind of not turn themselves in gracefully, but kind of make this ending because it is going to end because the secrecy, the energy of the cycle is not going to allow it. Try to make this resolve as gracefully as possible because you cannot stop a planetary cycle. It's going to happen anyway. So why don't you work with it? And it's interesting because I'm using the words work with it because of my situation, having been born into a mind control program. I had to work with it. I know all about working with it. And it's what makes sense if you actually want to continue to move forward and not end up dead. So maybe that's what the bad guys need to listen to is me telling them, why don't you work with this situation so that you end up better than dead? Work with it. That's enough. What are we here for? We're here for me to try to give you as much information as possible having to do with the other dimensions because part of that Planetary cycle of revelations is what's going on in the other dimensions, not just in terms of what's associated with your life on this planet, um, but off planet. There's a couple of interesting. Joshua, honestly, we're not going to go there. First place, Elon Musk is one of my favorite people. So I suggest that you hold back your comments because you're not going to be my favorite people. Got it? Besides which, I'm saying something that has nothing to do with that. Got it? And you come here every time, Joshua, and you come here and try to deviate the conversation to something that's important to you, but may not be important to the group. So I think you need to get with the program. Got that? You understand that expression in English? Get with the program. And don't beat up on my favorite people. That doesn't make any sense in terms of diplomacy. So I'm trying to give you as much information as possible without giving you so much that I completely turn you off and you don't come back. I have a friend of mine that I talk to almost every day, and we talk about all this stuff, and she's very bright and she's very with it. And she keeps saying, it's just like too much. It's too much. What you're giving. Yeah, I know. You got to tell people it's too much. It is too much because if the program has been, you've been blocked from the program of multidimensionality, that reality, which has always been, then when you start getting information about the other dimensions, it's like, it is too much. But I think I'm not going to hold back just because it's too much. Okay. So today we had good news. President Biden said he's going to reclassify marijuana. But then I read that the DEA says they're not quite sure they're going to allow it, and they are the ones that decide. Marijuana is a sacred herb, just like mustard is an herb. Chamomile is an herb. Got it? And it's part of the medicine of Ayurveda, which is 5,000 years old, and part of Chinese medicine. Chinese medicine recommends marijuana, cannabis, not cannabis, especially if you're a couple. Now, why would they do that? What does it have to do? The fact that you're married to somebody, you should take cannabis? Cannabis reduces fire. And if you take cannabis, there's going to be less fighting between the couple. That makes sense. But they know that. They've recommended 2,000 years. And then we get to this part of the world, and we're told for a long time that cannabis is basically a tool of the devil. I mean, it's a tool of the devil. Cannabis actually reduces the food of the devil, which is fire. Cannabis is a female plant, and it reduces fire. Cannabis, when I did my research on cannabis, and it's on my website, FRANCESFOX.com, and I did several little sessions, it's recommended for when somebody is passing, because cannabis releases the channels of the mind, the channels that your mind goes through, called mind strings. And when somebody is passing, everybody's holding on. The people that are going to stay behind alive don't want the person to leave, almost always. The person that's leaving doesn't want to leave behind their loved ones. So those channels, those mind streams grab on, people grab onto each other. Cannabis relaxes the mind strings, which is why it's so powerful. So it's recommended for that, for both the person who's passing and the person who's going to be left behind. You know, my self-esteem was so low, and probably still is, because of everything that I had been put through and everything that I did that I didn't want to do, but I needed to do, whatever, all the sex stuff. So when I say stuff like this, I know a lot of people are like, why is she talking about that? I'm talking about it because it's real, and because we all have people that die. Why would we not want to use something that makes their process easier? Why not? Because somebody wants to control it, because they want to make money off of it? Believe you me that the people that decided to control cannabis were not controlling it to help us. Every time they want to do something to protect us, they're actually doing it to stop us from accessing something that maybe we really should be having. But I'm not going to go on and on about that, other than to say when I first read the news today, I was happy. And then I read the DEA says they're not really sure when what they're going to do or when they're going to do it. So nothing has changed. But we are in process. We are in process. I have not sketched you today, but let's go ahead and do a self-assessment as to how you feel. And let me put up the dress a minute for you to see whether you're able to see gold in your life today or whether you're blocked. The dress is white and gold. Some people see it blue and brown or blue and bronze. I do see at the bottom a piece that is not white and gold. So I have a problem. Now, what does it mean that I'm only seeing a part of a dress? That I need to take the time to find that out. But let's go ahead and get the mantra up so that you can start doing your mantra. Okay? It's right here. And I will immediately sketch everybody, which will be not quite as accurate as if I had sketched you before you came in. Why? Because I have a superpower called the power of induction. I didn't invent that. The military and scientists that work with me said that I had the power of induction. Just being in my presence augments your psychic abilities. And I have a lot of people that say, and I can see it also, that when they're with me, or even if they talk to me like on the phone, they feel better. And I have noticed lately that when I'm in front of somebody physically and I'm talking to them, within several minutes, their face relaxes. I'm not giving them a healing, but apparently there's something about my aura that does. And we go all the way back to intentions. What is your intention? Mine is for everybody to be healed and to be happy, and for families and people to be happy together. And I'm going to go back to the bad guys who are terrified of their stuff being revealed. And I'm not just talking about the pretty aggressive group that I have to deal with, but I'm talking about all of them. What's your intention? Is your intention to cover up all this bad stuff, which you're not going to be able to cover up because you weren't in there alone? They're going to be whistleblowers from within your group. Or is your intention to survive as gracefully as possible? I'm talking about the people, the bad guys, that with all this whistleblowing activity, there's just no way that this is going to, and we're in Revelations, etc. So, bad guys, what's your intention? If it's survival, you need to modify your behavior. Why don't you do a mantra of surviving this gracefully? Maybe that means that the other guys were so much worse than you that they're going to ignore you and not do anything. Maybe it means that you'll ultimately never end up in jail. Maybe it means, who knows what it's going to mean, because that's the good thing about intention, which I have been told. You have an intention, vitalize it, and then get out of your own way. Don't try and figure out how that could possibly happen. So if you're one of the bad guys that is running around, beating up on people, threatening people, scrambling, blackmailing people because you know that stuff is going to come out, why don't you do that mantra? And then allow God to help you out. Because on planet Earth, there is a place for people who do bad things or who we classify as bad. And they are just as spiritual and as loved by God as the people that do good things. This is a planet of light and dark. And the bad guys are part of the process. As a matter of fact, the people that act out the ugly, bad things are supposed to be more spiritually evolved than the nice guys. Why? Because, and I'm going to take the time to tell the story because it's really important now. When Lemuria, which was apparently the original civilization on the planet before Atlantis, and then it was parallel with Atlantis, very simple society that you should read up on because we may end up there. if there's a nuclear war, we may end up living like that. Not bad. In Lemuria, I had a person that I knew, and she asked me to please take care of her boyfriend. This was decades ago, and I said, "Fine, I will." Um, she said, "He's not really happy about this." I said, "Well, I'm not going to break his arm." She said, "No, he's going to do it." But so anyway, he came in, and I do well with men in the sense, I guess maybe because of all the military and whatever background, and they get comfortable with me when they think that they're not going to be, and then all of a sudden they're like, "Oh, she's okay." So he sits there and I said, "Can I help you with something?" He said, "I don't really know why I'm here. I did it as my girlfriend, whatever." So I said, "Okay, fine." I said, "How about if I tell you a story about yourself?" And he said, "Okay." So I said, "Let's go back to a past life, your past life in Lemuria." And in Lemuria, an angel came to him and said to him, "We need your help." And he said, "Okay, I'll help. Whatever." And the angel said, "But it's going to be really difficult." And he said, "Okay, I'm willing." The angel said, "A bad energy has been dumped on the planet, on planet Earth. And most people are too weak. They can't handle it." And he said, "Okay." And the angel said, "We would like for you to carry some of this bad energy." And he said, "Fine, I'll do it." And the angel said, "Yes, but you need to know that you won't know that you are being bad in order to help other people." And he said, "Okay, I'll do it." That man almost cried in front of me. He was like, he said, I've always thought I'm a really good person, and then I do all these bad things. I don't get it. And now I get it." And his girlfriend had said to me, "He's a really nice guy, but he's always got one foot in jail." So, bad guys, I'm not going to say get with the program. I'm going to say that reality is created through intention. Do the mantra, "Please God help me with my intention that this resolve gracefully." So if you wanted to resolve gracefully just for you, just say, "This resolve gracefully for me and my family." But what I find here in Miami is I have a group of guys that they're like this. They don't let go of each other. So you might want to say, "Please God help me with my intention to gracefully, to miraculously, not gracefully, miraculous resolve this for our group." Do it. Believe me, it will go so much better because it's going down anyway. And it's not me. I didn't make the decision in 92. I didn't put my name in that book. Okay, about 8 years ago. Not me. Help yourself. Let's go ahead and start. This was important to say today. Here's the mantra. I only took 18 minutes. Remember to do the mantras, repeat in silence, and breathe out through your mouth. And I am going to do something a little bit deeper. We are really on the cusp of a massive confrontation now, today, in the most important country in the world, the United States. The country that has their finger on that button with the nuclear weapons, even though we accuse everybody else, the country most liable to use it. We have a pattern. Patterns repeat. We did it at the end of the Second World War. The war was over, and we decided to experiment with bombs. So we are in a difficult, interesting, and scary place. So I'm going to put music on that I don't generally for this mantra, because this takes us very, very deep. Okay, so let's do 15 minutes and then I'll be able to stop talking. Isn't that beautiful? Wow. I forgot. The title of today's chat is Frequencies and Evasion. We had a frequency shift. We've had frequency shifts, ascension process, etc. But we had a frequency shift also between Thursday and Friday due to the solar flares. And I gave a chat a couple of times where everybody who signs up, I sketch their third eye and tell them what their biggest blocks are. And the first two were very interesting, a lot of black magic, a lot of interesting things. See, I'm saying stuff. These spirits don't want me to stay the bad guys. I don't have a cold. They start to hammer on me. And last night I gave it again. And what I found, which I had already discussed and shared with you, that several people were invaded from Thursday to Friday to Saturday morning. It wasn't just on Friday. Friday was supposedly, until then, the biggest flare, and then we had the biggest one on Tuesday, I think. But Thursday to Friday. And the invasion is a big eye in the third eye. The third eye is like the command center for people. And it's where your wisdom is, where most of your memory, past, present, future, what Carl Jung talked about. It's where your superpowers are, discernment, etc. I love that discernment. The Vatican. Wasn't the Vatican today going to give something out? No, the 17th, tomorrow. Not a coincidence. I'm telling you, these days are like, whoa. So there was a big frequency shift and a lot of invasion. And there's somebody on X that I see a lot because he posts a lot. And he started looking crazy 3 or 4 days ago. And he's saying now he can't focus. He can't focus. But I think he got invaded. Now, I know that if I say to him, listen, maybe if you do these things, it can be better. I'm the crazy lady. So I have to watch. And we're all going to be watching a lot of people going down very quickly, like from 1 minute to the next, one day to the next. It's so severe what it is that comes in through the third eye that it's like from one day to the next, it's not the same person. So I sketched when you started the mantra, the earth, this is earth, totally burning up. We have the protection. This is good. This is a lot of anger, but maybe I said stories that were angering. There's at least 2 people here, by the way, that are here to watch me, to see what I'm saying, because they're part of the people that Revelations is going to expose. 2 of them right now. But for the first time, I sketched spaceships on our left and on our right. Now, left is the opening to the galactic for human energy system, bodies, and the right is total physicality on the planet. We got it on the right. That matches to some experiences I had this morning that I've never had before. So then I sketched towards the end of this mantra session. Now, this is not an invasion. So I'm just going to say it. This is a part of you, this galactic. It's going to wake up now. It's going to get so interesting. And actually, that's what I'm doing in the session after this tonight with my Mantrist group in Spanish. We're going to go after a part of us that's not integrated with us. But this is what I sketched for this group, 110 people. That's an integration of the galactic. We are fragmented human beings. Supposedly there's 12 of us. And that's why the Jesus Christ thing with the disciples of whatever. Today, banner day, And I can tell you, because of my experiences today, that the whole galactic thing with the beings and the ETs and the mixing with humans and being able to communicate with them or them communicating with you and you being able to see totally now. And apparently, for most of you, because this is a collective mind map. So there may be some of you that are not there at all. Maybe some of you don't want to be there and you might be there anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and end this right now, which is kind of short. But honestly, I have a class after this and I am a bit overwhelmed by everything that's going on. It's like a little bit of it's not a roller coaster. And everything that's happening is good. Revelations is good. The secrecy thing. What was all this secrecy thing? If we didn't have all that secrecy, a lot of this stuff would have never happened. Why? I'll figure it out, maybe, and then I'll share it with you, okay? So we will see you tomorrow. And enjoy Revelations. And if you're on the other side of the line and you're one of the bad guys, do the mantra so that it will be miraculously graceful for you. You never know. You may get out of this totally unscathed. And it's actually not to our advantage for the bad people to be put in a really bad place, because this is a collective sketch. We live collectively. Well, that's not really true. That's not really true, but it does affect us. Before we lived collectively, about 10 years ago, maybe less, we now are able to create reality individually, but it still affects us. So anyway, I'm going to let it go. Love you a lot.